All right, so this is a pretty basic V3 Studio. It's just a list of bookmarks with a URL and a title. It's config. If you're familiar with V2, you'll notice that in V3 we have moved away from the JSON format and instead use a normal JavaScript file. That in itself is a pretty significant difference. But just right off the bat, I will be focusing on going a bit further than just what we can do in this file. Because as I said in introduction, in V2, the decisions we made with the kind of bundling and technology we used later gave you some limitations in what kind of things you can do. So an interesting question is, in V3, with all the cool new features we have and APIs we have, there's always going to be areas where you might face this problem or a use case where whatever you're facing is something that we haven't seen or thought of, or maybe no one has seen or thought of. And how do you problem solve a situation like that? To be more specific, like what if you need to A/B test the config, for example? How would you go about delivering one config for test A or for test B, or you just want a dynamic title for your dashboard? So in this first segment, I'm just going to show you how you can actually do that and what happens when you go outside of the batteries included experience to see how far you can go using the standards we've chosen in the bottom. So just to be clear, in V2, we were relying heavily on Webpack and its APIs. In V3, we have chosen Vite to be the base bundler, but we have not chosen Vite as a standard. We've chosen ESM, which means we are interoperable. We can use new APIs that doesn't tie you to Vite or any bundler in specific, or even any bundler at all. That I will show that use case at the end of this talk. So just to get started, in order to call an API from a ESM file like this one, the first thing we need to do is to enable top-level async await. What that means is that we need to let Vite know that it's okay for us to do this, basically, because it doesn't allow that out of the box. And the first step to allow that is to hook into a little escape hook that we have for when you face a problem that are outside of what we cover. Give me just 1 second. Okay, there we go. There we go. And a little bit messy on the windows. Okay, so in this Sanity CLI file, and there will be more documentation of this, we allow you to hook into the Vite config directly. It might look scary, but the only thing that we are actually doing here is that we are changing the target. I'll highlight it in just a second. So the thing we're changing, and specifically, is this line here. We're just telling it to target newer browsers that support top-level await. I'm doing that in this demo because it's convenient, but when you go into production, you want to use a Vite plugin or a Rollup plugin that can support all the browsers you should support. So by turning this on, and conversely, we also need, since we're using TypeScript, we need to also change the target up here. There we go. Probably 2022. And when all that is done, probably don't need to restart. Think about it. Now we're ready to go. So I have a really, really useful API that we're going to use that is perfect for something you would do in production. It's called Bread Puns. and you'll never guess what it does. Oh, hang on. Okay. You don't need any of this. That's a. I don't know why I copied that. Okay, so let's step back a little bit. All we've done here is that we have a try catch block that uses the fetch API that you probably used many times before. And since we use modern tooling, this should just work. We'll find out in a second. Have a plan B if it doesn't. Don't worry. There we go. Worked. So we're just changing, again, 2 files. We allow doing, but we can do anything now, basically. You can do lots of things you probably never should do, but you can do them. Useful things you could do here is calling APIs for reusable stuff, A/B tests, and all sorts of things. And this is a normal like JSON API. You can also do pretty cool things like, let's say, using an external service. This is an experimental one. And you want to have a new theme because you're bored by the theme that is already there. Let's go with pink. Is pretty cool. Yeah, just copy that and paste it in. And this is an ESM module. So you have a URL over here, and this generates an ESM module that we can just dump in here. And again, this has nothing to do with Vite and everything to do about V3 being bundling agnostic. So just to, yeah, it can be a lot at the same time, but just to reiterate, you can do anything you can do with a JSON API or any JavaScript you would want to inject into the config for some reason, for some business problem. You can now do in V3. You're not limited in any way by the choices we make for you in the base build. The base build is now just a convenience thing we give you to get you started. And unlike in V2, it doesn't limit you in any way at all. You can eject out of it. And you can take it further. Another use case is if you need a server-side API. For example, let's see, we only have 2 minutes left, so I have to speed forward to the solution. A very useful thing to do in your bookmarks is to fetch the title or favicons from the URL you're adding. But that's something you need an API for. You can't really do that just by looking at the. Just change the branch. Yes. Well, stash. I don't care. Come on, Git, please. Oh dear. Well, no worries. Just grab it. All right. Meetup. This is what happens when you do things live. Okay, let's go. Oh, that's the one, right? No, it's not. Okay. Everyone is seeing my private repos. Okay, here we go. All right. So, in the deployed version, we are able to add links that fetch the title. So if I add, let's say, Sanity IO, or do you need Web3? Sure. We can do a server-side call that will fetch the title for us and inject it. And this is just a next installation. And this is something you can install in the V3 Studio you're in. So just to show you that flow, to get from that point to this, to get from point A to B, you install next Sanity in your V3 project. And that gives you the ability to create an API file that you can call from your local. So if you look at the schema that is calling it, sorry, not the schema, the studio file that calls the API, it doesn't need to worry about headers. It doesn't need to worry about anything because it's all deployed together. I will post all the code used here, so those who want to dig into it can do that, or ask questions, of course, as we are moving a little fast here. But the takeaway is that whenever you're stuck or you need something that you can't do out of the box inside of the config, either it being something dynamic or something that requires a server, you have a path you have a migration path, a reject path you can take to apply that. And yeah, so that's a data fetching one. The other thing you can do in V3 that you couldn't do before, and this won't be such a code-heavy demo, is you can take over the way it renders. So in this demo here, I've implemented something called React Joyride. And what it does is it takes over the routing of the studio, and it knows the state, so it grabs my name from the authentication state. And just before I show you how that flow looks, here we go. The way you do this in V3 is by using the context API that React has. So there are two things in play here. One, we are grabbing the user from Sanity Studio and we're hoisting it up outside of it. Like we need to know if they're logged in or not to know if you need to show the tour. The other thing we're doing is we're overriding the way the studio renders. So we could be controlling its router. So it goes up and down, kind of. So number one, the way you grab something from deep inside of the studio in V3 is by creating a custom component like this one that can use some of the new hooks that we have. So use current user is from the new monorepo package, and to tie it all together, for this hook to work, this component needs to be inside of a studio provider, right there. And now to get that value out of here and all the way up, we just use a callback on change and set state. It's just from use state. And that's how we hoist it all the way up. There's all sorts of hooks that you can hook into to do all sorts of interesting things. This is just to open you up to the idea. And the other side of it, when you need to control the studio routing, is at the time being it's an unstable API, but it's to provide your own history object, as that gives you the ability to push to the state. So the rest that ties it all together is just calling push whenever the tour changes, and then we are using selectors to target the tour. So what it looks like in the end is this. So as you click next, oh wow, there we go. I guess I zoomed in a little bit more than it used to. Right. So then it highlights the objects. If you don't suck at writing selectors like I am, it can take you all the way through different actions like highlighting forms. You can start typing in them. I love this product. No idea what it is, but I'm paid to give it 5 stars. You have to give an honest rating, and luckily this company, that is a very legit company, already knows we're going to give a 5, so we can't make the mistake of giving a different rating. And no one really reads this anyway. And that's a tour for the product. Oh, let's publish it. I would like to get rich in no time. So that's just a very quick example of how you can kind of like customize the studio from both ends. Get something in there that you want to do something cool, or override something in there. This is very experimental, so we would love to hear your feedback on the kind of things you would like to do to determine what kind of APIs that will be interesting for us to think about to make that possible for you. And that's the guided tour example. All of these will be posted, and yeah, again, you can ask any questions if there's anything unclear. I assume there will be, because I'm moving very fast through them. And then at the end, the coolest use case for me is the case of, let's say you have a lot of customers and you don't have any time to keep them up to date. This is a very common use case for agencies or people that deliver solutions to the public sector, where every primary school have exactly the same needs. It's just different name with different students and teachers. And it quickly adds up, 60 of these, and you can spend a whole week just updating dependencies and checking it to work and all that. So here's a pretend customer called Potatoes. They have a studio that is a blog. But on their legacy system, we can't run NPM. In fact, all they give us is we can upload a file like this. We can upload an HTML file. That's all we get. And with v3, since we're bundle agnostic, that's not a problem, because we can make use of our own ESM setup. So this studio here is using this mystery thing called Sanity parts. And it's using the ID of this pretend customer to kind of block everyone else from using the studio. It's kind of like a Sanity as a service kind of situation. Then it calls a function that renders the studio. Now, the interesting thing here is that the type module thing and what it implies compared to the way we've done this in the past in the web with using globals or the good old jQuery days. We just added a CDN script tag and you could use the thing, but then the thing could do things that you didn't expect. But these things are not a problem here, because we can share state between these modules and customize exactly what they export and how it's used and the order they use. So the way you would go about to ship something like this and make it possible to just inject a script tag that gives someone an entire studio that they no longer need to maintain, and giving you one package to maintain, is by, I'll just drag that. Oh, it's right behind. I prepared this one. Here we go. So this is the Super Studio that does the thing. And here's the build script to generate the file that you can just dump into your customer sites. So it's a ESBuild command. It tells it's the browser, tells it the bundle, minify, all that, and then where to output. And that's pretty much it. So all the logic for this is in this file here, which is where we are telling it that we are exporting a function called create studio. So if you want to export other things, we could do that, and then that would be available to the customers. But the interesting thing is just the convenience of all of it. So I have another customer, because my business is booming. They have a very controversial website. They're really, really against pineapple and pizza for some reason. And they don't have a very good web designer either. And now both of them want to have an Unsplash image selector. Now, in the good old days, I would have to go into each repo, right? But in this brave new world, it's pretty similar to how you would add it to any other V3 Studio. We would just add the thing. Oh, hang on. Unsplash. Unsplash plugin. There we go. Oh. I'm not used to being in this zoomed in state. There we go. Right. And the command is v3 something. Yes. Great. Oh, there it is. That's the one we need. So let's add that. And just since we are a Sanity as a service all of a sudden, let's be responsible. And let's dig into the service we're shipping and add the thing, which is done like this. All right. Let's add the import. Oh, that's not what I wanted. There we go. Need to add the plugin. All right, good to go. And now we have to run the command that outputs our service. Dunk. Cool. And then we deploy to production, of course. New plugin, yay. Cool. Oh, but it has something from production. Oh no. Probably deployed this earlier. Well, I have no choice but to nuke it. Okay, let's go. Wait. Oh no, well, then we'll just revert to commit. There you go. Yeah, let's roll back. There we go. Promote that one. Yes. It should be pretty fast. And while it does that, let's see how long it takes before both my customers suddenly have an Unsplash plugin. And yes, I did buy domain names just to make this hilarious for no reason. Okay, you done yet? Almost. Come on. Customers are waiting. We don't have all the time in the world. No Unsplash. Come on. I believe in you. Come on, next. 43 seconds. There we go. Should be out. And almost. Oh, okay. Spoke this in. Now it's out. And there it is. Unsplash deployed. What about potatoes? Did they get Unsplash? They got Unsplash. Everyone is happy. All right. So that is Sanity part, software, Sanity as a service. If you do this, be responsible. Sanity will not condone any BMW-like behavior. And you know what I'm talking about. Like the front seat warm subscription thing. That's not good. And on that, I'm ready to take questions. Sorry if I moved a bit fast. I was very excited to show you all of this at once.
A lot of information. Great talk. Thank you for all of that. There are a couple questions, but I think we all just need a little breather right now. That was a lot at the end.
Yeah.
My heart was racing. Everyone was like, "Are we doing live updates right now?"
Yeah, we did.
Oh, question that just came in. How many domains do you own?
Oh no.
It's okay.
Well, I'll give you the number. Hang on. Like asking how many workout clothes you have. It's not a very nice question. Yeah, it's 20.
Okay.
Half of them are not used.
That's pretty good, though. All right. So we had a community question from Ethan. So async to update Studio. Can we async to pull in data that isn't necessarily part of our Sanity data set?
Yes. Like anything you can use fetch for or a dynamic import for, you can use to modify your entire Sanity Studio export, like config before the studio loads it. So with that, as Spider-Man says, with a lot of power, with great power comes great responsibility. You have the power to break things as well, but you also have the power to do things that no one has dreamed about yet.
Right on.
No limits.
I think that teaching UI looked really really cool that you showed. I wondered if there's any way like you could display it just once, or like make sure it doesn't display all the time, but just when you actually want to do the teaching. How would you do that?
Display what? I missed that part.
Like the teaching, sort of taking someone through the studio and showing them like, oh, first you go and click that, and you go and fill in information. That seems like the kind of thing you don't want to see every time you go into the studio, right?
And can I add to that? Because I also had a question on that. Like, can you make it so they don't have to publish and it's like truly just a tutorial and they don't have to like fully publish something at the end?
Oh yeah. Like it's more about with how deep you can integrate without hacking the studio, basically. And it's new ground, so a lot of this isn't tested since it's well tested in the studio itself, of course, but the kind of things we're doing here is very new. But in theory, yeah, you could adapt it in a way. You could gamify it so that the user is much more in control of how they progress. So you can do more of like an achievement system. So you could, for example, reward them for creating an article, but they decide when and how, instead of this very, very guided and forced approach, which was much more to show that you can take total control over the studio at the cost of a good user experience, I should add.
Yeah, I think a really good use case for this would be like bringing new employees on and having them create their own like employee profile page. But in the end, they publish it because it's like, oh, we want you as like listed as an employee. But that's like a really great use for it.
Yeah, and in general, these kind of guided tours is usually something you should also let the user specifically opt into instead of forcing it upon them, or at least make it easy for them to cancel out of it and opt into resuming it later if they feel like it. Because we don't want to interfere with the process of when they are exploring things and figuring things out, because that's so individual. You will likely just mess it up, right? But it is fascinating how much stuff you can do now, which previously was just not possible at all. Like you can really tailor make your studio to whole new levels, both in how you onboard people, but also in what it actually can do and where you can put the studio itself. It's like there's nowhere you can't put it anymore.
Yeah. Yeah, it's launching later this year, but it is in developer preview. And I started playing around with it like a week or so ago, and it's cleaner. Like the code is cleaner. It makes sense. Like when I ran the command, the developer preview one, and I went in the schema index.js, I went into it and I'm like, oh, this is different. Like this is one line that I have to edit. And when and so before there was 8 lines that you would see initially. So things are being cleaned up and it's looking great. So I'm excited.
It's really nice. I always feel like I'm spoiled because I could just start working at Sanity and always use the cool new version. And also coming from the outside and been stuck with a lot of legacy systems, I also find it really, really encouraging that we're not just selecting cool new tools, because that can also be alarming. And we are forcing quite a high cost on our developers and users. But we are taking such a clear stand on selecting tech like ESM, making it really clear that we are no longer making these choices for you. We're just giving you the thing we think is best, but you can customize it and change it whichever way you want. There's no it's just a preference now instead of a decision made for you, and that's really encouraging for someone like me, that when I want to invest in a system, like say I didn't work at Sanity, it would be really encouraging for me to know that, okay, this looks cool, but I have this assurance that later on, if I disagree with how the studio does things out of the box, I'm not bound by it or restricted by it. I have the escape hatches I need to solve the problem of my customers the best way I see fit. So it's like a very good guarantee to have.
Mm-hmm. And Ethan in the community just said, I'm glad that there is that starting point provided, because when you have too much of a blank slate, you kind of don't know where to go. But that initial starting, and then it's like you take it however far you want, or use what we have provided. So yeah, it's a lot of.
Oh yeah, no doubt. I mean, people don't know how much Sanity is investing in just making sure we get ESM right. And having worked on it, I wouldn't wish anyone to have to learn all that just to make sure you ship it correctly in production. We have to do this. We have to give people the starting point, because we already fatigued just dealing with the current ecosystem. But the stuff ahead of us with new runtimes like Bun, Dino, and Versal Edge and these things, it's more important than ever that you don't screw up ESM. And it's, people that just want to build a website or a product should not have to deal with that at all. It's important that we that deliver these systems, we have to take that responsibility and give people a working solution as a baseline.
Yeah, right on. Yeah, I'm very excited for V3, and there's going to be more talks and demos on it for the rest of this year. So definitely stick around, stay tuned, keep an eye out. But yeah.
Oh, and please share with us the cool stuff you're working on. I know it's easy to just work on really, really fun stuff and never talk about it, but please do share, because it's very fascinating for us. And we also want to hear the kind of ideas you have. Because it's a whole new world.
Yeah. Right on. Well, thank you, Cody. If anyone wants to find Cody, you are in the Slack community, so you can reach out there. But yeah, other than that, thank you so much. This was a lot of info in a short amount of time. We appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Right on. Well, we will see you around. Thanks, Cody.
Bye.